Welcome to Bellwether Wealth's webinar series, Navigate Exit Planning with Confidence. In Season 1, Drive Your Business Like You're Going to Sell It, we're joined by John Fulwider, a business value growth advisor at Gear 80. For today's episode, we will discuss how to increase profit and cash flow.
Great to have you here, Blake, Kate, and William. Let's dive right in. So, business owners, they can't get out of day-to-day management, and 80% of them can't sell their businesses. This free 14-part webinar series you're in today shows you how you can free yourself from day-to-day management and double the value of your business. That way, you can successfully sell it when you want, to whom you want, at the price you want, or decide to keep it as a highly profitable asset. All you have to do is drive your business like you're going to sell it. That involves focusing your work on the 3 dimensions of business growth. 1, creating predictable profit and cash flow growth. 2, creating predictable, sustainable revenue growth. And 3, creating predictable, transferable value. Now, there's a great side effect of focusing on these 3 dimensions, and that's that your business gets easier and more fun to run. There are 4 parts to our webinar series, and today we're in part 1, creating predictable profit and cash flow growth. Today, we'll focus on part 1 of how to increase profit and cash flow predictably. Then next week on October 30th, we'll cover part 2 of how. Now, if you missed our first episode, Why Predictable Profit and Cash Flow Matter, you can watch the recording. We're posting the link to the recordings page in the chat. The webinar series continues most Wednesdays through the end of January. You can find the full schedule on Bellwether Wealth's webinar series page. We're also posting the link to that page in the chat. Today is part 1 of how to increase profit and cash flow predictably. There are 8 objectives to achieve in building predictable profit and cash flow, and we're going to cover 4 of them today. First, you need an effective senior leadership team. Second, you need productive and loyal people. Third, you need recurring revenue. And fourth, you need strong profit margins. I'm John Fulwider, and I will be your guide for this webinar series. I've helped more than 40 business owners grow their profit, their revenue, and the value of their business, all while making it easier and more fun to run. My clients have succeeded with many of the major types of business transitions, to strategic buyers, to private equity, to the company's management, and to the next generation of family members. And I'm proud to say that many of my clients have earned a spot on the Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing American businesses multiple years in a row. Finally, I'm a certified exit planning advisor, which means I've got special training on collaborating with other professionals, like your financial advisor, exit planner, accountant, and your attorney, to help business owners like you successfully reach their finish line. This webinar series is for business owners who are experts in running their businesses, but not experts in selling them. Most business owners only sell their business once. So for them, it's a high stakes and frankly complicated project. Throughout the series, we're focusing on 2 characters, Got Time Greta and Want Out William. Got Time Greta has a successful business generating a nice income for her. She's thinking, I don't want to go anywhere tomorrow, but I'm not sure that I want to be required to be here 3 to 5 years from now. Want Out William, on the other hand, is tired. He doesn't have another great recession and global pandemic in him. He wants out in a year or less. This series revolves around a free assessment that gives you a rough estimate of what your business could sell for today. You'll also learn how much more you could sell it for after you increase its profit, revenue, and value. This can be as much as double what you could sell your business for today. You've got to know where you are to plot a course to where you want to be. So scan this QR code with your phone to load up the assessment now, or click on the link that we're posting in the chat. Now it's time to get more specific on the 4 objectives we will cover today. Productivity expert Stephen Covey told us to begin with the end in mind. So here are the ends we have in mind. When we achieve these 4 objectives, we are much closer to achieving predictable profit and cash flow. Objective 1, you have an effective leadership team and the business can run smoothly in your absence. That's key, as we'll see real soon. 2, your employees are productive and loyal. 3, you have a high percentage of recurring revenue. And 4, you generate gross and net margins above the industry norm. Back to the first of 8 objectives on the way to predictable profit and cash flow. Objective number 1, you have an effective leadership team. The business can run smoothly in your absence. More specifically, your leadership team is aligned with and accountable to the business's vision and mission, helping the shareholders achieve their objectives. Shareholders is going to be a key concept here. Listen in for that. So now let's look at the key results that show us we're on the way to an effective senior leadership team. 1, the shareholders have written time-bound goals for the business, which are shared with the senior leadership team. What are those goals? I would submit that they should be predictable profit and cash flow growth, predictable sustainable revenue growth, and predictable transferable value. But why am I so confident these should be your goals? It's because the objectives and key results I've been showing you come from the due diligence checklist buyers use when deciding whether to purchase your business. Due diligence is like a high-stakes test your business takes. With the list of objectives and key results you're getting from this webinar series, you get the test questions before you take the test. And you get to improve your answers before you take the test. These same objectives and key results also are part of the private equity growth playbook. Private equity firms buy companies like yours, grow them dramatically over 3 to 7 years, and then sell them again at a premium. With this playbook in hand, you can PE yourself. That is, you can more aggressively grow your company like a PE firm would, while still protecting your non-financial values, like taking care of your loyal employees and keeping your operations in your community. The difference is you're still in control, you still own your company, and you get to enjoy all the increased profit, revenue, and value that come from building a world-class business. On to key result number 2. The senior leadership team understands and is aligned with the shareholder goals. This isn't the reality in most businesses, big and small. Most business owners aren't aligned with their leadership teams at all. It's like they're seeing entirely different companies. That's been my personal experience advising more than 40 business owners and their leadership teams. And it's also the experience of many people who work with companies of all different sizes. There's plenty of data to back this up. There's a tool I use called the Leadership Team Alignment Report, where the business owner and their leadership team members separately take the business value assessment I mentioned earlier that's part of this webinar series. That's the one that, remember, shows you what your business could sell for today and how much more you could sell it for by increasing its profit, revenue, and value. Dozens of business growth advisors like me use this alignment report, and the report's results are almost always the same. And that's that the business owner and their team are not aligned. In the chart here at the top of the slide, you see the business owner and a 3-person leadership team, with each person assessing the business quite differently. So To make a plan to get from point A to point B, you've got to agree as a team where point A is. And this team, as you can see, does not agree. These data and my experience are from small and medium companies. The very same holds true for large companies. Look at this headline from the MIT Sloan Management Review. No one knows your strategy, not even your top leaders. And this headline from Harvard Business Review. Is your company as strategically aligned as you think it is? Spoiler alert, no, it's not. So here's the third key result that indicates that you've got effective senior leadership. Senior leadership is accountable to the business vision, mission, and strategy. Well, they can't be accountable if they don't know what it is, can they? Here's the challenge. Most business owners I've advised know their vision, mission, and strategy. It's just that their people don't. Let's say, for example, you've owned your business for 10 years. You have been thinking about the business 24/7, 365 for 10 years. You've been to all the conferences, you've read all the books, you've talked over problems with fellow business owners in your peer group. You've got your growth ideas in a pile of notebooks so high it's a workplace safety hazard because the notebook pile could fall over and crush someone. What you need is a way to shrink that pile down to one page so you can get everyone, well, on the same page. So there's good news. A one-page strategic plan is a basic feature of business operating systems like EOS, Scaling Up, and Pinnacle. Key result number 4 that indicates you've got effective senior leadership. Senior leadership is accountable to the shareholder goals. Again, they have to know what the shareholder goals are to be accountable to them, which means you need to know what your shareholder goals are, and I bet you don't. That's because you're probably thinking like the owner of a job instead of the owner of a business. You're thinking like an employee instead of a shareholder. Most business owners never get out of the S quadrant, owning a low-paying, high-stress job. Good news, following the growth playbook in this webinar series can get you into the B quadrant, where you own a system that works for you. In other words, you're a shareholder of the business. And what should your shareholder goals be? Predictable profit and cash flow growth, predictable, sustainable revenue growth, and predictable transferable value. Now, you might be scoffing at this point. My business makes a good income for me. Our customers are happy. Other stakeholders are happy. John, we don't have any of the 4 key results you just covered. And we certainly don't have key results 5, 6, and 7. You've got it on the screen right now. To that, I would say congratulations. I'm happy for you. I'm happy for your customers and your stakeholders. And if you're the one managing it all, if you can't say, yes, the business runs smoothly in the CEO's absence, then you don't own a business. You own a job. A good paying one that makes an impact and is satisfying, great. But to truly own it, it's got to run itself. A business that runs itself is the ultimate prize, because when you don't have to work for it, that's when you truly own it. You might be scoffing or you might be beating yourself up. Please don't beat yourself up. Business owners are the heroes of our economy, and running a business is incredibly difficult. Brent Beshore is the founder and CEO of Permanent Equity, a buy and hold private equity firm. He has seen the inside details of thousands of companies that he's considered buying. He says, quote, "All businesses are loosely functioning disasters that sometimes make a profit." Good news, you're in the right place to make your business better functioning, less disastrous, and more profitable. And I've got more good news. Throughout this webinar series, I'm giving you a growth playbook that makes setting shareholder goals a lot easier. It also makes planning to achieve those goals easier. I told you earlier that the growth playbook is the same one private equity firms use to dramatically increase business value in 3 to 7 years before turning around and selling the company again at a much higher price. All the steps to grow a world-class business are already written down. So if you'll follow them, you save your creative energy for solving customer problems. And here's the last bit of good news for today. The steps to get your senior leadership team aligned with your goals for your company are also already written down. They're in a system called Objectives and Key Results, or OKRs. I've been talking about OKRs throughout this webinar. Now I'm going to give you a quick lesson in how they work. When you understand the OKR system, you'll be able to grasp future episodes in this webinar series much quicker. All right, warning, I'm going to go through this fast, maybe too fast. Just remember that we post recordings of these webinars so you can go back and re-watch them. We're putting the address of that webpage with the recordings in the chat right now. So let's start with a couple of quotations from the book that popularized OKRs, Measure What Matters. Here's the quote. An effective goal-setting system starts with disciplined thinking at the top, with leaders who invest the time and energy to choose what counts. I know that you can invest the time and energy to choose what counts. You've proven it by investing your time and energy in this webinar series. Now for a definition of key results from the book. Key results benchmark and monitor how we get to the objective. Effective KRs are specific and time-bound, aggressive yet realistic. Most of all, they are measurable and verifiable. All right, now let's put this into our webinar context. Earlier, we dove deep into the objective. You have an effective leadership team, and the business can run smoothly in your absence. And we covered those first 4 key results in detail about the leadership team's alignment with and accountability to share goals. So in the OKR system, objectives are short, memorable, and inspirational. They get you out of bed in the morning, and they are few in number. Key results are 2 to 5 numbers that, taken together, help you know you're achieving your objective. And finally, initiatives are tasks, activities, and projects that influence key results. Initiatives are where people get stuck. They do a bunch of stuff, but it's not tied to a key result, and thus it doesn't accomplish an objective. Things like upgrade the phone system. It may need to be done, but does it move the needle in profit, revenue, or value for your business? Is it worth your attention as CEO and shareholder? That's what you have to decide. The book Measure What Matters uses a football example to show how OKRs promote alignment among different roles in a company. Here we have a football team's general manager whose objective is to make money for the owners. 2 key results help them know they're achieving their objective. 1, win the Super Bowl. 2, fill homestands to 90+%. We'll focus on win the Super Bowl. That then rolls down to the head coach, whose objective is win the Super Bowl. 3 key results help them know they're achieving their objective, and those key results are in offense, defense, and special teams. The passing attack then becomes the offensive coach's objective with the 3 specific key results that you see here. And then the same thing happens for the defensive coach. And finally, the same thing happens on special teams. All right, that's it for the quick lesson on OKRs. 3 quick ways to learn more are 2 YouTube videos and a book. That is, they're quick when you listen to them at 1.5x or 2x speed. We're putting links to all 3 in the chat. Speaking of quick, we need to wrap this up. So what I'm going to do is blaze through objectives 2 through 4. We're posting a link to this slide deck in the chat. And even if that goes by too fast, you can always just email me for a copy. I'm at john@gear80.co, not .com, .co. So objective 2 is productive and loyal employees. More specifically, every employee and contractor understands their role and the metrics defining their success, both individually and for their team contributing to the business. Here are the key results. You can review these later when you download the slide deck. Those are results 1 through 4. Here's 5 through 6. Moving on, as I said, we're whipping through to the end so we have time for questions. Objective 3 is recurring revenue, and more specifically what we mean here is that your business can predict a significant portion of future revenue from customers through contracts or other means. Key results for recurring revenue are here. Objective 4 is strong margins. More specifically, you generate gross and net margins above the industry norm. And here are the key results indicating you're achieving strong margins. And that's it for today. Up next in our webinar series is part 2 of how to increase profit and cash flow. That's on October 30th. Our series continues with part 2 about growing your revenue predictably and sustainably. That's important because buyers want to see revenue growing steadily up and to the right. On November 6th, we've got why predictable, sustainable growth matters. And then on November 13 and 20, we've got how to increase revenue sustainably, parts 1 and part 2. Part 3 of our series will be about making your business sellable by increasing its value to buyers. And finally, part 4 will be about selecting your exit options. With that, it's time for Q&A. Remember to type your questions in the Q&A section of your Zoom window. The Bellwether team will read each question aloud and then I'll answer them. What questions do you have?
Okay, John, we have one. It says, are OKRs better than rocks?
I think so, yes. And I strongly encourage you to use any kind of priority setting system that puts more intention into your business. Here's why. I'm gonna make a reference to the book 4 Disciplines of Execution. And what that book says is that there is an enemy, right, afflicting all of us as business owners, and the enemy is the whirlwind, right? It's the brush fires, the dumpster fires, the emails, the gravel, the sand, everything that kind of gets in the way of focusing on our priorities. The whirlwind is constantly pushing against you, making you just focus on surviving rather than thriving, what's in front of you immediately rather than a long-term goal that you need to work on steadily. So if you can set intention through rocks, please do. I believe as you look into OKRs, you'll find that they're a cool upgrade. But if you're already setting rocks or you just want something a little simpler and a little easier to get started with, please do rocks. Rocks are covered in all 3 of those books that I showed you earlier: Traction, Pinnacle, and Scaling Up. Great question. What's next?
What are some first steps a business can take to curate recurring revenue channels? Thanks.
Ooh, good question. Curate recurring revenue channels. First of all, you need to determine whether your business allows for recurring revenue, whether your business model even supports it. Ask that question carefully of yourself. Don't spend too much time on it, but what I want you to do is I want you to think about that so that you don't get frustrated or try to force recurring revenue into a business model where it doesn't fit. While this key result of recurring revenue is listed as as an objective and something that will make your business more attractive to purchasers, it's not a mandatory item where some of the mandatory items are the business has to run independently of you, the CEO. It has to be a self-managing business. That's mandatory. Recurring revenue, not so mandatory. But let's think about recurring revenue models. I mean, we are all the customers of recurring revenue models because we all pay for our software online month to month, right? And that wasn't always the case. The software industry used to sell, CD-ROMs and disks in sealed boxes. And when you wanted a new software, you had to pay like $600 or $1,000 to buy the software. Now you pay, $12.99 a month. That said, recurring revenue could be applied to just about any industry. Let's think about your standard home services firms, an HVAC company, a monthly service contract where they come out regularly in order to service your AC, service your heater, even replace your furnace filters because people, me, always forget to replace them. So that would be the two first steps, right? Think about whether your business model supports it, right? And then look for examples from your peer group, right? Ask them, industry associations, do a little research. There's always people not who are not competitors in your community, but are in the same line of business that you can learn from, and recurring revenue ideas are a great thing to learn. Great question. What's next? We've probably got time for one more, Kim.
Okay. What are specific recommendations you have for Got Time Greta and Want Out William?
Okay, yeah, thanks. I didn't talk about them quite as much as I did in the previous episode, did I? Okay, so Got Time Greta and Want Out William, the major difference between the two of them is the time that they have available. I am showing you through this webinar series a way to accelerate the growth of profit, revenue, and value in your business. Got Time Greta has 3 to 5 years to work on growth acceleration, and Want Out William only has 1 year. So the results are going to be different, right? Got Time Greta is going to enjoy more growth, and as a result, she's going to be able to sell her business for a bigger price, or she might decide, hey, I just want to keep this business. I'm going to elevate myself to chairwoman of the board, and I'm going to keep the business as a cash flowing asset. Want Out William has enough time to stabilize the business and make it sellable. So he's not going to be able to sell it for as much as Got Time Greta could, but he will be able to sell it after he runs this growth playbook. Now, fair warning, if you're more like Want Out William, you're saying, man, I'm tired, I want out of here in less than a year, you might find when you run this growth playbook that your business becomes easier, more fun to run, you catch your second wind, and you fall back in love with your business. That's what can happen to people like Want Out William when they run the growth playbook in this webinar series. And with that, we always start on time and end on time. We know you have businesses to grow. So thanks everyone for being here today. Just a couple of concluding comments. You can free yourself from day-to-day management and double the value of your business if you'll focus your work on the three dimensions of business growth. One, creating predictable profit and cash flow growth. Two, creating predictable, sustainable revenue growth. And three, creating predictable, transferable value. After that, you can successfully sell your business when you want, to whom you want, at the price you want, or decide to keep it as a highly profitable asset. All you have to do is drive your business like you're going to sell it. I'm John Fulwider, and I am looking very forward to seeing you next time for How to Increase Profit and Cash Flow, Part 2.